fight a year, maybe two. This has the makings of it. A legendary sort of Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard level fighter, like an iconic 12 years of greatness. This could be his last fight. He fights a young 29-0 undefeated Keith Thurman. This will be the best fight of the summer and probably the best fight of the year. Car shopping's confusing. A lot of terms: dealer price, list price, invoice. Here's what's not. Go to TrueCar.com. New or used car. They'll save you money, give you all the fees before you get there. So the over-unders came out in the NBA. And we've always known this. This is not a criticism of the NBA. It's a reality. It's the story league. We watch football in America. We talk about the NBA. And I'm a talk show host, so I like talking about it. It's soap operas, it's divas. I don't watch a lot of NBA regular season basketball in its entirety. I watch highlights, I watch bits and pieces of games, but I watch all NFL games, all of them. I'll watch every Dolphin game this year. I'll watch every Titan game this year. We watch football in America. The ratings prove that, but we talk about the NBA, and I'm a talk show host, so I do a lot. But I do think sometimes narratives carry the league more than reality. So the over-under win totals came out yesterday, and all these teams that like added people, their numbers flew through the roof, and you forget that chemistry is a real thing in the NBA, and also veteran players and stars. You know, they're going to take nights off. It's the idea that you're going to improve 7, 8, 9 wins in the West. I don't know anybody that's improving that much. It's just too thick. And by the way, the Eastern Conference isn't terrible either. Toronto was 17-5 last year without Kawhi. Philadelphia is probably better. Boston, better chemistry, probably better. Milwaukee, I think. I don't know if Milwaukee's quite as good, but their young players are getting better, so they'll be good. So those four teams I know are good in the East. Toronto, Milwaukee, Indiana. Indiana's a real team. Victor Oladipo comes back. So they'll be like a 47-48 win team. I have 5 good teams in the East. I think I have 8 good teams in the West. Half of the league now is viable. So the over-unders come out yesterday, and this is what's funny. So Portland now is a 44-win team. They got to the Western Conference Finals, but because they only added Hassan Whiteside, they're no good. They only have 44 wins. Brooklyn now has got 45.5. How's that work? Their best player left, D'Angelo Russell. The second best player this morning on the Brooklyn Nets is Spencer Dinwiddie. The third best player is Jaron Allen, who's playing in the Summer League. And they're better than Portland. Well, the West, the East, again, the East has 5 good teams at the top. Let's not make this the Mountain West Football Conference against the SEC. The West is better and thicker. But there's some bad teams in the West. I mean, Phoenix is in the West, and Memphis is in the West, and Minnesota and Sacramento are not great teams, and they're in the West. And, I'm looking at all these over-unders. I'm betting the under on all of them. I did the only over I saw, Golden State, which has now been reduced to a 47-win team when they're going to get Klay Thompson back in probably late January. And I'm going to get Klay and Steph and Draymond and Looney and D'Angelo Russell and Steve Kerr and a great GM, and I think they're pretty good. And by the way, Joy and I both believe D'Angelo Russell, he'll work. The level he will work, I don't know. But this idea that he's going to go to Golden State and just be reduced to this pile of basketball rubble. He's 23. He's talented. He's a playmaker. Steph works with everybody. Steph works with quiet guys. He worked with KD. He works with crazy Draymond. He works with everybody. So D'Angelo's going to work. So I would say I would take the over on Golden State at 47. I think they're closer to a 48, 49, 50-win team. I like Utah, but 52.5 wins in this league, folks, that's a lot of wins. That's a lot of road wins. That is a lot of road wins in the NBA. And I think the West is better than ever, so I'm selling everybody. I'm going to go today online and bet the under on everybody except Golden State and Portland. I'll bet the overs. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
You know we love an anonymous GM quote.
Oh, I do.
Yes. Well, Klay Thompson is staying in the Bay. He and the Warriors agreed to a 5-year, $190 million max contract. But apparently some NBA personnel were left wondering if he warranted it. According to our own Rick Bucher, minority owners with the Warriors floated the idea of seeing if Thompson might give the team a hometown discount, but abandoned it over fear he'd jump to the Clippers or the Lakers. His media shyness and stoic locker room presence also leave a few max salary boxes unchecked. Quote, he's a good player, but he's not a leader. A Western Conference GM says he just shows up and hoops.
I don't see that as a criticism. He's the best number 2 player, arguably, since Scottie Pippen. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
I don't understand how this. Well, first of all, the idea that Klay Thompson would take a hometown discount for the Warriors is truly laughable.
No, you're not going to.
It's remarkably, astoundingly barren of self-awareness.
He's the 3rd best 2-way player in the league after Kawhi and Paul George.
Which
Klay
of
Thompson.
those banners are you hanging without him? I mean, absolutely not. Is he taking a hometown discount for what? Who?
Does everybody have to be? Now, I want my quarterback to have leadership qualities. No question. If you don't have them, I'm not drafting you. But couldn't I make the argument, Joy, that if I have a LeBron, a Magic, a Michael, a Kobe, I kind of like my 2 guy being a little Pippen? I don't want Charles Barkley and Jordan. They would butt heads.
You can't have too much of the same thing. So, yes, absolutely. That's not saying he's not a great teammate, that he's not a great player. And don't you sometimes just want a few great guys that just come and show up and hoop, that are no drama and aren't trying to be the star of the situation, don't need all the credit? It's the perfect formula. It's perfect. What do you always say? Don't try and be happier than happy. Like, you can't ask for a better situation than that. What do you mean he's not a leader?
You can make the argument. I think I've made this argument before. As great as LeBron is, you could probably argue there's teams that he wouldn't be a perfect fit with now, because the way, LeBron's offense is pretty much whatever LeBron does, that becomes your offense.
There's a lot of teams he wouldn't be.
He doesn't move without the ball. So, like in Golden State with Steph and Clay and Durant, he would not have been a good fit. Klay Thompson, I've argued this, is the only player in the league, that includes Harden, who fits on every team in the NBA. Everybody needs a 2-guard who doesn't need the ball. He's not ball-centric, who plays hard on both ends. And by the way, hoops, home, family, out.
Yeah, it's a remarkable comment. Well, sticking with that article from Rick Bucher, Kawhi was widely regarded as one of the best 2-way players in the league. He signed a 3-year, $103 million deal with the Clippers, which makes him eligible in 2 years for a Supermax salary. Well, what do anonymous front office execs think about Kawhi? Well, one Western Conference general manager stopped short of describing him as a leader because of his Sphinx-like demeanor and his limited playmaking ability. There's not a question mark there, but I'm reading that with a question because it's weird. Kawhi is great at getting his, but he doesn't elevate anyone, the GM says. He doesn't rally his team.
He's not a great passer, though he's gotten better. That was the big knock on him 5 years in. Like, he didn't pass. So, like, Patrick Ewing was great, but the knock was always, you give it to Patrick, and the offense is done for the night.
So, I mean, if the playmaking ability comment is related to him being a great passer, then somewhat understandable. That said, Kawhi is not a vocal leader. He isn't. That's a fair criticism. Kyle Lowry was the vocal leader in Toronto through the championship run, which makes sense because he's still there. He was there before Kawhi, and he's still there now. It was a 1-year deal, and it worked out perfectly. Like we were just discussing with Klay Thompson, everybody doesn't have to be the vocal leader. Just because you are the best player on the team doesn't mean you need to check all these random intangible boxes. He doesn't have to be the guy that's out there as a... Kawhi is going to be the face of the Clippers next year, for sure. He's not going to be the voice of the Clippers, which is part of the reason why he probably picked the Clippers, because the Clippers fit his personality perfectly. I don't look at the Clippers like, who's going to be the guy? We know Kawhi is going to be the guy, but I don't need to hear from anyone from the Clippers. To be honest with you, Doc Rivers is the voice of the Clippers.
Doc Rivers is the voice of the Clippers. Doc likes that role. Doc's very media savvy. It suits him. Some coaches want it. Rick Carlisle is really good with the media. Doc Rivers is really good with the media, and they kind of like that role. They'll take the brunt for the players. Steve Kerr, by the way, take some heat for the players. He'll go up and take an arrow for the team.
But you can't force an individual into the role of LeBron James.
It's funny about this. I don't want to self-analyze, but I've worked in companies, and I've had this argument with people. I'm an opinionist. I don't do play-by-play. I'm not a host. I don't like reading a prompter. And when I got to my former employer, I said, listen, you don't have a me. I don't need a prompter. Just give me a mic, get out of my way, and I'll talk. And they're like, well, we hope. And I'm like, you're trying to make me what I'm not. Just accept what I am. It took me like 6 years at my old place for them to go, you're kind of an interesting guy who has opinions. And I'm like, that's all I do.
Well,
Like,
You're
we're trying to make,
100% right.
That's all I do.
And that is the conundrum of most every human being that's ever walked this planet, is trying to make other people into something that they're not.
Like, don't. Like, if you marry somebody, deal with their qualities, appreciate the good. Don't try to alter that's not who they are.
People change when they want to change.
Right.
We're getting very philosophical right now. But the point is that's not who Kawhi is, and that's not who Klay Thompson is. And both of those qualities in their own individual way is what makes them great.
Here's what Kawhi does. Get you buckets and can guard anybody. I'm good. Seacrest out. That's good.
Thank you.
Get buckets, guard anybody. He guarded Giannis. I'm good. Get buckets, guard. I don't need you to analytically check everything. I don't.
So finally, Steve Kerr is ready to have Shaq pay up on a comment made several years ago. Shaq's Lakers won 3 straight championships from 2000 to 2002, and then made the NBA Finals before losing to the Pistons in 2004. Well, Shaq thought the team's accomplishment of making 4 NBA Finals in 5 years was so impressive that he said this in an interview.
If a coach takes a team to the finals 4 out of 5 years, I'll kiss his feet on Fear Factor with cheese on it.
On Fear Factor?
I will. It'll never be done again.
Well, he said that very straight-faced. It has been done again.
Yeah.
Shaq responded to Steve Kerr, who tweeted, "Hey, Shaq, I'm going to do us both a favor and pretend that David West didn't send this to me this morning." And Shaq responded, "I guess I'll see you in Fear Factor and make sure it's Kraft cheese." I would go with Munster myself.
Did you ever watch Fear Factor?
Yes.
I thought it was fascinating. It was the best bad show on TV.
But it was very anxiety. It was very compelling in that it just gave you anxiety imagining being in those situations. Like when they'd put people in like the containers with all the cockroaches and stuff. I think if my options were spiders or cockroaches, I think I'd probably go with spiders.
Joe Rogan has done 2 TV shows. News Radio, which I contend is the most underappreciated show in the history of sitcoms. News Radio, to me, was the funniest show on TV. Listen, Seinfeld was great. Everybody loves Raymond. They're all great. News Radio was hysterically funny, was on forever and never got love for some reason. Then Joe Rogan was on the Fear Factor, where people had to live with cockroaches, and you could not take your eyes off it. And now he's got a great podcast.
Yeah, he's a huge podcast.
That guy has figured something out.
Yeah, Fear Factor they should bring Fear Factor back.
It was so random.
I can't watch anything awkward on TV. Like if there's an awkward moment coming up in a movie, I change it. I can't do it.
I can't do it.
It's giving me anxiety talking about it now. I can't do it. And I can't do situations where people are cramped.
So are you claustrophobic?
I don't put myself in claustrophobic situations, because when I do, I still like remain very calm. But yeah, I can't do it. Like this. Have you ever seen the movie Escape Room?
I'm just not comfortable with any of that
My
stuff.
hands literally pour sweat.
I can't watch Jeopardy if somebody is struggling.
Me either. I can't do it. I don't know what it is.
I can't watch it.
Weird.
If there's somebody on Jeopardy and they're getting crushed, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't get involved in that.
By the way, you ever heard of the show Intervention?
Yes.
I can't watch people's lives crumble on TV.
Yeah, that show is very difficult to watch.
It was so
too.
depressing.
It has some moments that are interesting, but once they get in the room, I'm good. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
We're very similar.
And I don't want to watch Shaq lick cheese off Steve Kerr's feet either.
Out on that. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie
I said
News.
it was Zeke Elliott. You think I'm nuts on this? I'd consider moving him. He'll never have more value in the NFL than today. Ezekiel Elliott, there's a leak out there that basically he wants renegotiation with 2 years left in his contract. And between the off-field stuff that's nonsense, and between you're trying to plant that story 2 years before it's I'm going to pay you, I would consider moving him. Jimmy Johnson did it to Herschel Walker, and Herschel, like Zeke, was unbelievable. Adrian Peterson got moved. DeMarco Murray got moved. Le'Veon Bell got moved, and the teams are fine. Albert Breer is around the corner on that Monday morning quarterback. Dodgers battle the Phillies tonight. Discover Card Key matchup. Go further than ever with a Discover at Miles card. Discover match for new card members only. Discover.com/travel. 35,000 miles could become 70. They automatically match the miles you earn into your first year. Albert Breer next. It's The Herd.